Decluttering our sentimental items can be really challenging. So I want to share with you a personal declutter of some sentimental items today and share with you my thought processes going through those so you can make your own decision about whether or not to declutter any of your sentimental items that you've been holding on to. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a lovely day. We're doing another decluttering video today, but I thought we'd take on sentimental items because I get a lot of requests for this. And dealing with sentimental items, it's a very personal, very individual situation. And so I have got on the bed my boxes. These live in the top of my wardrobe usually, and these contain items that I have held on to throughout the years for various reasons, but they don't actually serve any other purpose. They aren't out in my house, they aren't being used on a regular basis, they are literally just here for memory's sake. And I'm going to go through these items today and decide whether or not there's anything I can let go of, and we're going to go from there. So I will share with you my reasons for keeping things or my reasons for letting go of things, and hopefully if you're struggling with decluttering sentimental items, this will help you to question within yourself why you are holding on to something and whether or not you're ready to let it go. And just as a reminder, you don't have to let anything go on a sentimental level. There is no reason why you shouldn't own things that are sentimental, that mean a lot to you. But if you're watching this video, it might be that you are starting to feel cluttered by the amount of stuff that you have kept over the years, but you're also struggling to let them go. And having that sort of conflict in your mind, well, I want to keep it, but at the same time it's cluttering me, it can make you feel kind of uncomfortable in a place that makes it difficult to deal with. And I just want to add in here, if you declutter anything that is sentimental to you, it does not make you a bad person. You do not need to feel guilty about it. We all have our reasoning for holding on to things, but we also have the reasons why we let go of things, whether it no longer serves as a purpose, whatever that is. So please do not let yourself feel guilty. If you're ready to let go of something, you are allowed to do that. Okie dokie, I can't remember what's in these boxes, so I'm just gonna jump right in so we can have a bit of a chat. So I'm going to go with this one first. So actually, not very much in this one. I feel like this was my overflow when these two got filled, and I have absolutely no idea what's in that shoebox. So the first thing is a book. This is Talking to Tigers. It's a book I've never read, but I got this book as a present from my primary school when I left, which would have been in 2004. I would have finished that school. I'm just going to cover this up because it has got my full name on it here. The only reason I have held on to this book over the years is because my teacher signed it. It was, as I say, every student in year 6 at the time, the students that were leaving the school, got gifted a book. I chose this one. You got to choose from a list, I think, of about 10 books. And then we were allowed to get our teachers to sign it for us at break time. So these weren't just my current teachers, these were teachers I had over the course of my time in primary school. I think because I don't ever plan on reading this book, I will just either scan it in or take a photo of this signed page, and then I'm going to actually let this book go because it's not serving me a purpose. I never actually read the book. I don't have any connection to the story. I don't want to reread it. I simply kept it for the kind words that were written in the front. So that is an item I can actually let go of. Okie dokie, so in here I have kept some tags from my 18th birthday. I honestly don't feel like I need to hold on to these. You know, I've had a 21st birthday since and many others as well. The 2 tags I've kept are from my mum and dad and my gran and granddad. They have since written me cards, bought me gifts, written me tags. I know 18th birthdays are meant to be special ones, but I wouldn't even have thought to go back into this box to look for these. As I said, I couldn't remember what was in here. So it's not like I'm going back in here when I feel like I need a trip down memory lane. I'm not seeking these out, so I don't think I need to keep those. I have then got, is this an iron-on? This might be an iron-on patch from the Harry Potter studios in London. Clearly I'm a Ravenclaw. I used to be a massive Harry Potter fan. That's probably why I held on to this. I probably also had it in my head that if ever I went to a fancy dress, I would make my own robes for Harry Potter out of something, like if I wanted to dress up from Harry Potter, which would be a much cheaper alternative than actually buying the robes if you've ever seen the cost of those. Wow. I just don't see that happening, so I don't feel bad about letting this go. This is just my entry ticket for when I went to the Harry Potter studios. Again, I don't think I need to keep this. This is going to be a really recurring theme. Park maps, entry tickets, souvenirs, things from holidays. For me, they have always been really important, but as time's gone on, I feel like I don't need to keep tickets and stuff. I know a lot of people would scrapbook these items. I'm not personally really into scrapbooking, and this is not something I'm feeling attached to looking at it. It's just a ticket. When was it? 5th of May 2012. There we go. So I'm gonna let that go. Okay, this is a tricky one. So in this box, I have got a ring. It's really the first ring I ever had that was my own. It was a gift from my auntie, who sadly is no longer with us. She had cancer and passed away in 2011. I'm not sure this would even still fit me. Oh, it does. I used to wear it on my middle finger. Oh, and it still goes on there too. My initial thoughts are I shouldn't keep this because I won't wear it. Ever since I have got engaged, I've been very particular about my rings that I wear. So I only wear rings on my, would you call it your fourth finger or your third finger if this is a thumb? I'd call it my fourth. So I only wear rings on my fourth finger on either hand, and they are all associated with my relationship with my husband. So I've got engagement ring and wedding ring on this hand, and then on this hand I have got this ring which he bought me for our first anniversary. And I don't mean first wedding anniversary, I mean first anniversary from when we were like first together. So I'd say dating. We didn't really date, to be honest, because we were just in school. I suppose at that age we'd have called it going out. And so I've had that for 11 years. I'm surprised that still fits actually. And then a ring he bought me for Christmas 1 year. So those are the only rings I wear, and I wouldn't wear this again, but it is sentimental to me and it does remind me of her. And this wasn't one of hers that she gave to me, because I did have a few of her rings. This is something she actually went out and bought for me because she noticed at a party that I wasn't wearing any rings, and she was always dressing up. She really took care of her appearance, but in like a really positive way. She had such a positive outlook, and she bought this for me because she knew I didn't have any rings, not even like cheap ones from fast fashion shops. I didn't have any. So she bought me this. I think I'm going to hold on to this. I mean, it's a ring, it's tiny, and whilst it's not useful to me anymore, I'm not going to wear it. It is still an item that brings back an important memory, and she was such a positive person. When I think of her, it fills me with happiness. And you know, I imagine there are people out there who have relatives that have passed that they could have some negative thoughts of, and the memories aren't necessarily good ones. With her, the memories really are good ones, and so I want to keep this. This isn't the box it came in, and I've got a couple of boxes actually, so if I've got a smaller one, I'll transfer it into a different box, but that is going to be a keep. So here we go. These two were rings that were actually hers. I don't have as much of a connection with these because I never wore them. I just sort of inherited them when she passed away. I feel like someone else would probably get the use out of these. I can't wear them, they're not my size, nor as with the same one would I want to because of how I already have the rings that I wear. When I look at these, I don't feel the same attachment to her. I think it's because these were absolutely nothing to do with me. These were just her rings that she wore. I never saw her wearing them. I just sort of inherited them, whereas the other one, I know she put the thought in it for me and I have more of a connection. So I'm going to let these two go, but I am just going to swap the boxes here because that one's a little bit smaller. So that's another thing to consider. If you've got more than one item that symbolises basically the same memory, the same person, the same emotion, then maybe just keep the one that's most special to you. I will of course offer anything that's sort of family sentimental to other members of my family to see if they want them, but I am aware that they also got their own sort of little things to keep when particular relatives passed away. Okay, this I absolutely adore. It's a brooch and it was my gran's. I actually really love this, and looking at it, I feel like I might actually even wear it. For those of you that have watched others of my videos, not just this one, you may have seen my video talking about my capsule wardrobe. I want to make it a little bit more elegant. This, I feel like, is just the perfect accessory to add a little bit to outfits. So this might actually come out of the sentimental items and act as a useful item. I'm going to keep this. And then in here I've just got loads of badge pins. I used to be a bit of a collector of badges. I don't know why, because I never wore them. I just used to like badges. Anywhere I went, that was sort of my go-to souvenir. Like some people buy fridge magnets, I used to buy badges, but I'm really not into that anymore, and these are just generic ones. These weren't from any places I've been to, so all of those can go. These are things, again, that I've collected from my travels. I have then got a couple of bookmarks that are exactly the same from Death Valley National Park. I have a bookmark that works perfectly well, and I always say the best souvenir you can have from somewhere is a photo, and I took literally over 100 photos easily when I was in Death Valley because it was such an incredible place to visit. I don't feel like I need to hold on to these bookmarks as well to be like, yeah, I went to Death Valley. I know I went, I've got the photos, and I think that's what matters. I've got my, see, these are the sort of things I keep. Wristband for the world's largest toy museum, which I believe was in Branson, Missouri. I don't need that. I've got the Hollywood Wax Museum ticket. I'm pretty much in the mindset that I don't need to keep tickets. I have got just the information leaflet for the Herbert Hoover National Historic Site in Iowa. Again, this information I don't feel like I will ever read again. I don't think I need to keep it, and I took photographs when I was there, so I feel like I just don't need this as well. I don't have sentimental attachment to it. That's the thing. I think because I've travelled so far and I've collected so many flyers, leaflets, tickets, just things, that they're all starting to have less value. Like if this was the only place I'd ever travelled, that would probably be really important to me because it was a big deal that I went, but I've travelled around the US a lot and I don't think I need to hold on to all these little items. I kept the cruise compass from when I took a cruise to Alaska, and this was just information for every single day, what was going on, and you know, that's all great. I do plan on going on a cruise again one day. I would love to. I loved going on a cruise. Got a little bit, I wouldn't say seasick, I wasn't actually sick, I felt a bit poorly, but I just loved it. I love that leisurely, not a care in the world sort of feeling. I love to really have that distance, so that was great. But I don't think I need to keep those, so they can go as well. So the first thing in here are my, I believe these are Russian dolls, but I'm not sure. They're just those stackable dolls. You open them and they get smaller. I put this into a memory box. I used to have it out, but it was fading. This outer one used to be the same colour as the one inside, but it's faded completely. It was already faded before I got it, but I just wanted to protect it as best I could. This was my great grandmother's. It's been handed down from my gran to my mum to me. This is just something I want to hold on to as, yeah, on a sentimental level. I would just feel really bad about letting it go. Not just for myself, but for all the other women that have had it, because, you know, it got passed to my gran and she looked after it. It got passed to my mum and she looked after it, and I don't want to say I feel responsible. I don't feel like I've got responsibility in such an extreme sense of this, but I just feel like, almost like it's my privilege that I was gifted this out of all the grandchildren. I was entrusted to look after it, and I do actually really like it. So I don't have it out on display anymore. I have done, but it is important to me and I want to keep it. Ah, this is a definite keep. This is my medal for going on Oblivion at Alton Towers. Now, every time I went to Alton Towers, I pretty much went on all the big rides. I'm quite good at big rides, but I'm not good at drops. I don't go on drop towers, and Oblivion has a vertical drop. I think it's like 180 feet or something. And I always wussed out. I never went on. And the last time I went to Alton Towers was with my sister, and it was in fact the first time I went to Alton Towers, first and only time I went to Alton Towers with my sister. And she said, if you go on Oblivion, I'll get you the medals. And she stuck by her word. I eventually just like built it up and up and up and up, and I just did it. I just went on. We were really lucky there was like no queue, so I didn't have time to stand in line and worry about it. And it's not Oblivion that's the reason I want to keep this. It's not the fact that, you know, she got me a medal. It's the fact that it really sums up my sister. She will always encourage me to be brave. It's always been sort of a bit of a joke in my family that she's the one with confidence and I'm a bit of a wimp. And it's definitely true. I am really, really wussy in just about all aspects compared to her, but she will always encourage me and she will always try and make me be brave. And that's why this isn't just a medal, it's kind of what it represents and what she means to me. And so I love this. This isn't going anywhere. Okie dokie. I have got a little wind-up tortoise. I don't know why, which tells me it's time for it to go. I think that's one of the things you can start to think about when you're wondering if you're ready to let things go. Obviously I kept this at some point for a reason. It meant something, I associated it with something, or it came from a person in particular, but I can't remember what that is now. If the item has lost its significance, whether it's the person, the memory, whatever it is, if it's lost its significance, then, you know, if you want to let it go, let it go. I obviously kept this for a reason, but I don't know what that reason was, so I'm gonna let it go. Okay, this one's a keep, but I feel like I should do something better with it. So on my trips around America, I decided I would try to collect one of each of the state quarters. This one's Connecticut. And I did. I managed to eventually get all of them. We weren't allowed to cheat, we weren't allowed to ask for them, we just had to happen across them when we got change, usually from something after we bought something. And I kept them in my goggles case. So when I started this, I must have been pretty young, probably about 11, where I still wore goggles in the swimming pool. And yeah, I like that. So 50 quarters in there for the states. I would like to put that in something better, but I honestly don't know what, but that's a keep. This was something that basically everybody did. So in year 6, we got to go on a school trip to the Isle of Wight, which was like a tradition of my school at the time. I say that like it was a posh school, it really wasn't. It was just a trip they ran for years. My sister got one of these when she went 5 years before I did, and I got one also. And you just fill a statue of the map, if you like, of the Isle of Wight with sand, and loads of people got these. My sister got one, as I said, and loads of people also made the mistake of shaking it and all the sand mixed together and you couldn't see the different lines in it anymore. I feel like mine's really blurred around the edges. I don't particularly have any exciting memories from school trips when I was this young, you know. 10 years old, you went with your friends, but they're not sort of the friends that were like your true friends that you had as you grew up. I'm not really friends with anyone I went to primary school with. Like, there are people that I know, and it's not that we don't like each other, we didn't fall out or anything, we just drifted apart. And so I don't have any sentimental attachment to this. It's not like I think back on it like that was a great trip with great people. Just doesn't have that vibe for me, so I think I'll let this go. This is a definite keep. So this is a money box. It was something my granddad had in his house. I don't know if he bought it specifically for me and my sister, but it existed in his house, and all throughout the year he would put his loose change in it. I say loose change, there were sometimes pound coins in here, but any sort of coins he had. And then at Christmas he would let us open it up and share the money out between us. And that was just something that was really thoughtful for him to do, because he didn't just wait until the end of the year to think about a gift for us. You know, he was thinking about us all year round. And, you know, some people may think that money is a really impersonal gift, but he wanted to give us something where we could go and get ourselves something we enjoyed, and he genuinely did. He thought about us all year round as he put his bits of money in here for us. When he passed away, I just happened to get this. This just reminds me of how much he cared about us, and I want to keep it. This is a clay box I made in year 8 ceramics, which I don't need to keep. I feel like I should point out as well, with people that have passed away, I think that's where most of us struggle in terms of our sentimental items. I feel perfectly okay with just keeping one item from that person that brings a really happy and positive memory of them. And don't feel bad if you want to let go of something that doesn't have so much of a connection for you, even though it belonged to someone who passed away. An example for me would be when we had to clear out my grandfather's bungalow after he passed away. I took with me 2 of his trophies, I think for darts. They were obviously really special to him and really significant to him, but I didn't hold on to them between moving from my parents' house to my own house, because they didn't have that significance for me. And it's kind of like I mentioned with the ring earlier on. This has significance to me because she bought it for me. This has significance to me because it represents the relationship I had with my grandfather and how much he cared about us. But for something that was precious to him for his own reasons, that might not have the same significance to me, and you might feel the same. So don't feel like you've got to hold on to something because it was extra precious to them. Is it still precious to you? And that's the thing I want you to think about when you're trying to make these decisions. I've got a couple of old key rings from Florida. These don't really have any significant value or memory to me, so I'm going to let those go. So this is my university alumni badge. Again, I don't feel like I need to hold on to that, you know. I've got my degree. That's probably the most important thing I could take out of university. This is my butterbeer mug from the Wizarding World in Florida. I would not reuse this. Butterbeer was great. I know not a lot of people liked it, but I don't feel like I need to keep the cup. Even though it's, you know, something I bought, something that has good memories, I just don't feel like I need to keep it. Camera battery died, so in the meantime I managed to break into the box, and these are my last few items left to go through. Whilst it was charging, I did declutter a whole bunch of stuff that was basically in the realms of tickets to things and postcards that I had bought personally just because it had the place I'd been to. There was no writing on the back, it wasn't from anyone. It was just something I had kept. A whole bunch of receipts, and then just a few knickknacks that don't have any significance to me now. So I don't feel like you've missed out on very much. One thing I really have noticed though is, for me, sentimental items, or at least when I was collecting these things, was very much based around places I'd been, traveling, and things like that, whereas I think for a lot of other people, sentimental things may have come from family members, which I have a little bit of, and as you've seen, I've kept a little bit of, but I think, yeah, a lot of mine is based around travel, but I'm also decluttering a lot of it. I've got a few last bits to go through here. I've emptied the big box, and I'm hoping that when I'm done, my sentimental items, memory box items, if you like, will be contained to just this large box here, and then the 3 smaller ones will be empty. So I have got here a little picture of my dad when he was a child. I definitely want to keep this. This is so sweet. I love this photo, so we'll be holding on to that. I have got a letter that my pen friend in France sent to me when we were in year 9 doing French. I did GCSE French a year early, and one of the perks of that is we got to have pen friends in France, and I remember being really worried because they basically wrote a bit of a bio about themselves And if we thought we'd get on really well with that person, we could, you know, put our hand up and say we wanted to be pen friends with that person. And I put my hand up for like 6 people, and the teacher just never picked me to have one. And I got left with one of the very last ones. And it actually all worked out for the best, because I was one of the people that continued to write to mine. Like, so many of them stopped writing even when we were still at school. So by sort of towards the end of that school year, only sort of 4 or 5 of us were actually getting letters back. And I'm now friends with her on Facebook, so that's really cool. But this is one of the letters she wrote to me. It is written in French. I know it's about Easter because she talks about chocolate Easter eggs. I wouldn't be able to translate all of this, but this is from her, and she put a little picture of herself on it, and I really like that. Again, good memories. I want to keep it. I have got here, as I said, loads of badges and pins. I have been through them, and I'm just not going to keep any of them, so they can all go. I have got my crown from medieval times. This one was from California, which was the second time I went. The first time I went was in Texas, but I don't need the crown. I've got photos of us there, all good. Oh, this was what was in the money box I had to break into. It's my tiara from when I was a bridesmaid for my auntie when I was 7 years old, and I will be keeping that. I have a few more travel holiday bits. So I've got a photo of us in New York, which I'm going to keep. I've got 2 little sets of the Universal Studios like mini postcards. They're just really generic, nothing I've actually written on, so they can go. I've got a book of the pressed pennies, where you go to those machines and crank the little pennies into squashed versions with pictures on. These are from the Disney and Orlando theme parks, so I'm going to hold on to those. I have got a very, very lightly filled autograph book, which I don't feel like I need to keep. I've then just got a few more photographs that I'm going to hold on to. I actually have a box of photographs. About 5 or 6 months ago, I went through all my photo albums with the exception of my wedding photo album, and I removed all the photos from all the slots. It took ages, just so I could keep all my photos in a small box and not have big chunky albums everywhere. So they can go in with those. Right, I've now got 3 lanyards, which I think is a bit excessive, but I kind of want to keep them all. So the first one is from my cruise, which was a Royal Caribbean cruise. I went on Jewel of the Seas, but I don't feel like I need to keep the information card that came with it. I really just want the lanyard. That's kind of cool. I've then got the one from Download Festival, which was the first and only festival I've ever been to. I went in 2018. And what's on here? Again, I don't feel like I need to keep the information that came with this. I will just keep the lanyard. And then I have got one from the Silverstone racetrack from when we did a fun run, and that's actually got like a little award to say you completed the fun run, so I might actually hold on to that. And so there is that. And the last thing is a little book that we got to sign when we finished primary school. I had a t-shirt as well, but I've decluttered the t-shirt. You know, it's cute, it's little messages from people. You know, they're cute messages, but they're from when you're like 10 years old, so I don't think I need to hold on to that. Then, the only big issue I have is cards. Now, last year I did a thing where I went through a whole bunch of my cards and I scanned them into my computer so I could get rid of them, but I've still got quite a few. I've kept all the ones my husband and I have ever sent to each other, because we used to write quite long messages in them, which were really sweet. We don't write such long messages anymore. I think we've run out of ideas. And then I pretty much kept one from every person, like my favourite one I had from them, including some relatives and friends that are no longer with us. So I'm not going to go through all of these right now, but just know there is quite a stack. So I am going to go through those, but not on camera, because that will just make this video even longer. And since my battery died already, that tells me this is quite a long video. I might have to cut it down quite a bit. So To sum up, I'm going to put the things I've kept back in this box, and looking at the size of that, it will fit, so that's really good. Got my sentimental items down to just one box. There is a whole chunk here of stuff I've decluttered. The pile is like 4 times the size of what I'm keeping, which is fantastic. What I've learnt from this is that I am really happy just keeping one small sentimental item from relatives that have passed, and I don't feel guilty about letting other things go. I think it's important that the thing I keep holds a significant memory for me to that person, and not just any random object that once belonged to them. And I think that's something for you to consider yourselves if you are decluttering items that are from a loved one, whether it is just their item or whether it gives you a memory of a significant time spent with them that actually brings you joy and brings you happiness. I had collected a lot of stuff to do with travel, which I imagine is not uncommon. And a lot of this as well for me is quite childish or teenage stuff that I've collected over the years, because in more recent years I haven't really collected so much stuff, and so I have been able to let go of a lot of that by keeping the mindset that the best souvenir you can have from travelling anywhere is a picture. And I have got thousands, literally thousands of photos on my computer and backed up onto hard drives and in various places. So, you know, I'm happy, I'm secure that I'm not going to lose them, and I don't feel like I need to keep things like park tickets, because that's just another way to remember the same thing that can be remembered from the photo. And then there's just other bits and pieces like the badges and the key rings and just little things that were important to me as a child or as a teenager that just don't have that significance anymore, and so that's been really easy to let those go. That is all for this video. I'm going to stop rambling on, I'm going to tidy up and sort everything out, but if you enjoyed it, if you found any of it useful, please do give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, take care, bye!